not prepared!
Welcome to another video, guys. Today we're gonna look at some of the best decks that are utilizing the new card Blademaster Okani. Blademaster Okani is actually a pretty good and versatile card, and I am assuming we are gonna see a lot of it getting played throughout the new Hearthstone year. Right now, it still is shining in some cases, but it's definitely not as potent as when the card pool will be a lot smaller. So there's that. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, a like and subscribe would really help. After the last video, a lot of you actually unsubscribed, which is probably saying more about Hearthstone than me, but it's really bumming me out, so if you can help a brother out, that would be amazing. Thank you in advance. Now let's check out the first deck. Currently, the best performing Okani deck would be Buff Paladin with Okani in it. Buff Paladin has been pretty powerful, especially after the new greedy decks came out, with Kazakhstan and such, so if you really want to be utilizing Okani while winning a lot as well, Buff Paladin would be your first choice. I did include Buff Paladin in the last top 5, and it really is pretty powerful. The games can go pretty fast, but you can also take it for the long run, especially with Light Force Carol. You also run a couple of Blessings of Authority, which you can double up with your Squawker, and if any of those stick, your Battleground Battlemaster is there to clean up. We also have Mr. Smite in here, which can grow pretty strong, especially with Carol buffs. And you can also double buff it with your Alliance Bannerman or some of your cheap buffs too. Cult Neophyte is also pretty good in this spell heavy meta right now, and we also have Trogs for the same reason. A couple of Righteous Protectors ensure that you're gonna be sticking some stuff on the board, as well as your Noble Mount too. Hold the Bridge can be used for some huge healing, and with Stoneheart Vindicator, making this down to 0 mana is really worth it. Like I said, we have Okani in here, and he's really good, especially against Kazakhstan decks, because usually you can really be able to predict when Kazakhstan should be dropping. And if you counter the minion, that minion is like totally gone. And Druids don't really have too many ways of testing out, and if you already saw Lunar Eclipse going out, it's gonna be pretty hard for them to test and play Kazakhstan in the same turn. Obviously, Scale of Onyxia is still gonna be probably able to deal with this one, but who knows, maybe you can buff it up, or protect it with some Righteous Protectors and stuff. So there's that. Matchup wise, here's a little bit of a more populated list, so you can see a good idea of what you should be expecting. And like I said, for Druids, you're gonna be wrecking them. And same goes for Hunters, so if you're sick of those two, this would be the way to go. Mulligan-wise, this is the version without Okani, but you still get the idea. When going first, you want your good 1-drops, depending on the matchup Cult Neophyte makes a lot of sense, Protector, Guardian Og Merchant, and your Knight of Anointment so you can start pulling those buffs. Kero Rome also is pretty decent. And same goes for Stoneheart Vindicator and also Bannerman, honestly. When on the coin, it's pretty similar. Even Kero Rome could be keepable in this case, but it's probably gonna come down to the matchup, honestly. Sunwing Squawker can also be pretty decent, and you don't always need to be using it for the Blessing of Authority. You could just use it for a second Divine Shield with Noble Mount, or something close to that. Even with Hand of Adal it gives you some extra card draw, so that's pretty good tempo too. Overall, the deck doesn't look too cheap, but in the end of the day, we have Mr. Smite, who was from the mini set, both the Blademasters, which are both free, so that just leaves you with Kero Rome and Kero Rome. And the Vindicators, which are epics, but they're definitely worth the craft, so there's that. Before we get into the next deck, again, I would like to say a huge thank you to today's video sponsor, Gemstone Legends. Gemstone Legends is a cool new RPG puzzle game with beautiful art, amazing lore, and fast-paced gameplay. You get to choose from dozens of different characters and upgrade them with tons of different artifacts too. It's a match-free color puzzle game, but you get to make 3 moves per turn, and you get to swap out diagonally, which makes for some really big combo potential. It has a great community, and you can form guilds in there, and play with your friends as well. You can also find me in-game under the name Kris05. The game has outstanding reviews both on iOS and on Android, and it's free to download and play, so check it out for yourself. If you use my code to download it, you also get $50 worth of prizes in-game, just for finishing the tutorial, so that's really gonna give you a great head start. So what are you waiting for? Download Gemstone Legends now. Alright, back to the decks again. The second best deck that utilizes the new Blademaster Okani would be Burn Shaman, and I can personally vouch for that because I managed to climb 50 spots with a similar list to this. The only change I had was one less Wind Chill for a Fireheart, and I can say Fireheart definitely won me a few games I was not supposed to win. You already know what Burn Shaman looks like, and this is pretty much the same list like I said. But with Okani, again, you get to counter some pretty huge minions, or spells, so you're basically kinda forcing the opponent to skip a turn or at least play a lot less optimally than he would have initially. In the end of the day, with Burn Shaman, a lot of the times it comes down to you stalling out the game long enough so you can gather up enough damage from hand so you can splurge out in a single turn. And Okani definitely helps you do that. It's also a chunky minion, so if you already played something like Caverns before that, and you also play Okani, it becomes a lot more powerful, because it's gonna be a ton of stats. It's really gonna help you out against those pesky Kazakhstan druids, and even though they manage to test out for everything before they do it, and a lot of the times they are able to kill it, that is still one extra turn before Kazakhstan drops, so that's more than you could be asking for. Matchup-wise, Quest Hunter is gonna be a problem for you, as well as Control Warrior, which is gonna be your worst matchup. Also, Demon Hunters are not too fun, because they get to glide your hand, and that's never fun for you. But all in all, everything else is pretty fair game, or very heavily favored for you. Mulligan-wise, Wildpaw Cavern with Lightning Bloom is always gonna be an amazing play for you as soon as turn 1 or 2. Primordial Studies is your only arcane spell, so you naturally always want to be keeping it so you can get your multicaster nice and loaded. Aside from that, when going first, apparently Brukan seems to be a pretty good keep, even though I honestly wouldn't be keeping it when going first. Sleetbreaker is usually amazing on turn 2, Multicaster is not bad, but I would not be keeping both Multicaster and Wildpaw Caverns, especially without having Bloom yet. Landslide could make a lot of sense in certain matchups, Lightning Bloom I would always keep as well, but the rest are pretty iffy. Well, on the coin, the situation is similar. Again, Bloom into Wildpaw Caverns is amazing, Primordial Study still pretty good, Sleetbreaker as well. Serpentshire Portal is somewhat acceptable in this case, but again, it is matchup dependent. Multicaster is still pretty decent, and Brukan I would be keeping if I was against the Warrior, let's say. All in all, this is one of the cheapest and most potent decks out there right now, so if you're looking to climb to Legend, this would definitely be a very cheap alternative for you, because you're only paying for the Brukan Legendary, which, let's face it, is gonna be an amazing card till the end of the next year. The deck is not easy to master, and it can definitely feel awkward, but if you take the time to actually learn it, I do believe you will be able to climb with this in no time. And the last deck on the list is the deck I initially thought about when I first saw Okani. Shadow Priest. Blademaster Okani is really giving me Elusia vibes, because you're technically taking the opponent's hand hostage, because he has to test out for 2 things before he can commit to his play. And usually what he wants to be doing is destroy your whole board. So a lot of the times Blademaster Okani here would be used for a counterspell. Shadow Priest is a very fast deck, and you're no stranger to turn 4 lethals, so with Okani in the mix, I do believe it's definitely gonna be helping it out. There are plenty of legendaries in here, but again, Mankrik was free, Blademaster Samuro was free, and Mr. Smite was from the mini set, so there's that. Najak is definitely replaceable, so if that's the only one you're missing, you can definitely swap it out for something cheap, like let's say Peasant or something. Other than that, we have Trogs and Cult Neophytes again for all of those spell heavy decks, and we also have a couple of Culturon Chaplains, so that helps you stick your minions for longer. We have a couple of Void Shards so you can have some reach from hand, and Mistress Smite as well, which also actually gives charge to your Defias Leper, which apparently is a pirate. I know, I didn't know that either. For the matchups, most Demon Hunters are gonna be a problem, as well as Beast Druid apparently. Quest Hunter is gonna have an easy time against you because it gets to clear all of the stuff you're playing on board. Some of the Control-y Priests are also not fun, as well as Ping Mage and Big Spell Mage. And also, most of the Shamans and all of the Warriors are gonna be pretty bad for you. Same goes for LTK Warlock. For the Mulligan, when going first, and second for that matter, you're always gonna want your good 1-drops. Honestly though, Void Touched Attendant felt pretty wonky against Hunters, so I'd rather not be keeping that when facing Hunters. Trogs are obviously amazing. If you're gonna be able to stick something on turn 1, Twilight Deceptor also feels good so you can draw stuff, Frazzle Freshman as well, and Cult Neophyte ain't too bad as well, especially if you're against a spell heavy deck. If you know you're gonna be sticking a couple of minions early on, Wriggling Horror also makes a lot of sense, and Guardian Ag Merchant can also be pretty good. Tour Guide is not the worst thing in the world to keep, but make sure not to waste the hero power just to smork face. And use it so you can actually make a free trade on turn 2 or something. Defias Leper can also be pretty good, but make sure to have also a Shadow spell in your mulligan if you plan on keeping him. When on the coin, the situation again looks pretty similar. Again, you want your 1-drops, Raise That becomes a lot more keepable, and again Mankrik is pretty fine too. Cult Neophyte still doable, Twilight Deceptor is gonna be a little bit more iffy though, because you're probably not gonna be able to stick something on 1 if the opponent has the tools to remove it. Like I said, the deck looks pretty expensive, and you will need to be crafting Benedictus. But then again, if you feel like playing this deck, Shadow Priest is gonna be sticking around for a while, I'm assuming. So that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what deck you wanna be using the new Okani in. Don't forget you can also hire me for some Hearthstone coaching, and also check out Gemstone Legends and download it from the link in the description. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.